Welcome back to This is VANCOLOUR. There was a lot of toxicity and conspiracy theory in both our provincial election and the recent U.S. presidential election. So as a parent, how do you talk to your kids about this stuff, especially when it's coming from our political representatives and leaders? Here to discuss, a BC broadcasting legend, the president of Down Syndrome BC and the mother of 3 teenagers. She is, of course, Tamara Taggart, and this is Tea Time with Tamara. So, Tamara, I feel like as a mom of 3, You're already trying to safeguard your kids from the dark corners of the internet.
Oh.
But then we have these elections where there's a lot of conspiracy and toxicity. What are you hearing from your kids?
Well, it's funny because, I've always watched an election on television.
Right.
It's just always the way it's been, or read about it in the newspaper, whatever it might be. But now everything's on social media, even for us, right?
Sure.
And Twitter or X or whatever we want to call
TikTok.
it is toxic.
Yeah.
On a good day, never mind when there's an election.
Yeah.
I tend to be on X mostly. Yeah. My kids are on TikTok.
Okay, got it.
And Snapchat and Discord. And probably some other things I'm not even aware of, but they're pretty good. They tell me what they're on. It's interesting. They know more about the U.S. election than they do about our provincial election. That's for sure, right?
Which is like a lot of people, adults as well.
Yeah, but that's concerning to me because we've always, I always bring my kids with me every time I vote. Like ever since they were babies, they get the sticker too. They see the process. They understand it. And they ask a lot of questions. But this time, they didn't really ask a lot of questions.
Because they were getting all the info from TikTok.
Yes.
And Snapchat, apparently.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I don't go on TikTok very much. I just, how many of these can I have? How many social media outlets can I have? So they're always telling me the highlights, and the highlights are lowlights to me, really.
Right. So what are they bringing to you?
Well, I mean, when we're talking about the U.S. election, it's, who do you think is going to win? Every day it's about who's going to win, who's going to win, who's going to win. For months, this is all I heard. And it's like, well, what are the issues and what are the policy? And they can't answer any of those questions. They can only answer, Trump said this, Kamala said this, and that's about it.
So it sounds like they're getting a lot of vibes on social media,
vibes.
Not so much policy discussions or what's at stake.
No, but they're starting to say words that, like woke.
Oh.
And so they've called me woke a couple of times.
I mean, in fairness. But
I'm like, well, I don't consider that a negative thing to be called woke. Sure. I don't know when woke became a bad thing.
Yeah.
But it seems to be a bad thing now when people call you woke. It's like, it's not a compliment. I take it as a compliment.
Right. Sure.
But those are the words they're picking up. When it came to the provincial election, it was like crickets in my house. Yes. They weren't seeing it on TikTok.
Right.
Their algorithm was not showing them the provincial election. Their algorithm is definitely showing them Trump.
Do they know who the premier is?
Yes, they do.
Okay, that's good. That's a start.
I mean, yes, they learned that in school.
Okay. So they're still being educated from a traditional form.
Yeah. And I mean, listen, they're learning. My 16-year-old is in law, so she's learning about, the different levels of government and how bills are passed and how laws are made and all that sort of stuff. So she's definitely into it. And what I found interesting is the U.S. election, I was watching it on TV. I knew what was happening. I was like, oh my gosh. And she was watching it on her laptop at the kitchen table. And I said, well, where are you watching it? Not TikTok, are you? And she was looking at the Associated Press.
Oh, that's good.
I couldn't believe it.
Wow.
So I found it just so interesting. They don't watch. When I was a kid, no one took me when they voted, right? No, you weren't allowed to ask who you voted for.
Right.
Now my kids want to know who I voted for. Why did I vote for them? Would I consider changing my vote? They ask a lot of questions, but they're still getting the majority of their information from social media.
Interesting. We have about a minute here, but I'm curious, do they bring you any of the toxic stuff that they're seeing from our politicians? How do you navigate those conversations?
I mean, I just
because these are supposed to be people in charge.
Yeah. I mean, I remind them what they learned in kindergarten, right? You get what you get and you don't get upset.
That's a great motto. I love that.
Teachers teach kids this from like basically kindergarten. And it's true, right? Like you are responsible for your vote.
Yeah.
You don't just, and provincially when I was voting, I did consider changing my vote a number of times, right? It was and I said, you know, it's like I have to look at my riding and then I have to look at who's running and then I have to look at who would be premier and then I have to look at, you know what I mean? And so we talked a bit about that. We have those conversations, but when it comes to the sound bites and the toxic bits, that's all coming from TikTok.
Interesting.
Yeah, for sure.
Sounds like a dire warning for all parents out there.
You get what you get and you don't get upset.
Tamara, it's a pleasure to have you on the show. Thanks so much.
Okay.
Folks, thank you so much for watching, and thank you to Linda Steele, Bo and Ma, and of course my friend Tamara Taggart for tonight's show. If you want to share your stories about baby poop or talking to your kids about the outrageous things that politicians say, shoot me an email, mo@thisisvancolour.com with your thoughts. Also, follow me on all the social medias. I'm on Blue Sky now. It's like Twitter, just not gross. We will be back next week, but for now, this is VANCOLOUR, and I'm Mo Amir telling you that in a province where you can be anything, be colorful. Peace.